Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Coulter,
and I am Chris Kirkpatrick.
And I can't talk. I was going to say a hard in a pod place or something. Yeah.
How many times have I butchered it, Stephen?
I don't know. Not many, but I've butchered it several times. I'm still trying to figure out what I've been having these issues with my throat, and it doesn't hurt now, and I can talk, but I still feel kind of like scraggly or whatever. And I don't know. We're checking it out. Nothing serious so far. All the blood tests and all these other tests, COVID and strep, all this stuff is negative. So, well, we'll see. It might just be allergies. I never have allergies, but maybe it's starting to hit me all of a sudden.
You know, the older you get, the more your body just starts playing games with you.
Yeah. I've played games with my mind, and that wasn't in my body, but nobody wants to hear about me playing games. Like, I played Twister. I played Twister once, but yeah, that was going in a weird direction.
Right.
Yeah, I had fun yesterday. Wow, that sounded insane. Yeah, I get a little sidetracked. What was I talking about?
Yeah. What did you do yesterday?
I went with my cousin. He drove me down to see my mom in Tennessee, so we hung out there for a little bit.
Nice.
And we stopped by a Hooters on the way back home. We used to have one around here, and I guess my cousin and I are like 12-year-old boys, I guess. And so we're like, let's go there. Took a picture of the building. I took several pictures, but I'm just going to show the building on the show.
You're only sharing the appropriate ones?
I guess so. I mean, anything past that point is. Well, I guess they're all technically appropriate. I mean, it's not like they're running around. It's not some freaky club or anything, but still, it was pretty good. I hadn't been to a Hooters in like not 8 years, about 4 years, I think. It's not bad.
I remember my dad had I think it was his 55th birthday at a Hooters. And, so I had me and my girls there. And then my wife's grandmother was out for a visit. And so taking my wife's grandmother to my dad's 55th birthday at Hooters, that was an experience.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. My cousin was like, you should ask to take a picture. I should. No, you ask. No, you ask. We really were like 12. And I'm like, okay, if I just go like, hey, can I get a picture? Yay. And I was going to show the picture here. But I was like, does it seem inappropriate for just a regular adult male to walk in and be like, let me take a picture with you? I don't know. Of course, if you're 12 and you walk in, it's normal. I could have said it was my birthday, but then it would have been awkward when I went on my actual birthday.
Right.
And then I'm like, didn't you have a birthday a few months ago? Like, yes, this is my second.
I mean, I guess if you give them a good tip, I guess it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, I'm getting worried for some of them. There's some I wasn't planning on talking about this, but it's not like a severe thing. But there's a story going on earlier, I think later last year, earlier this year, how they've made the uniforms even shorter, and a lot of the girls were like, "Oh, we hate this," and then a lot of them were like, "Oh, that's great," and they definitely were shorter than they were 4 years ago. I'll just say that. But
yeah,
I don't know. Pretty soon they're all going to be like at the beach or something, and it's like, wait a minute. Is this safe to eat food here? I don't know. It's still good food, though. I didn't die, so.
Well, that's good.
It was fun.
I mean, I guess they're a worse place to go.
Oh, yeah. You can go to a steakhouse to get cheeseburgers, or like you go to a burger place to get seafood or something.
Right.
That's
or even Long John Silver's.
Yeah, just going there in general.
Yeah.
But unrelated, like over the last couple of weeks, I've gotten some more action figures. I was just going to pop up real quick. I finally found some of these original movie turtle figures.
Okay, so a good Raphael.
Pretty cool. It's awesome. It's based on the first 1990 film. Damn.
I loved that original movie.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was great.
And I was a kid. I heard the word "damn" and I thought, "Oh my gosh, am I allowed to watch this?" I mean, and of course, from Michelangelo, And they all have their own accessories. There are different bandana straps you could pull off. And then I don't know why, but it's one of those touches. Like this drapes over each side of their head. The other set kind of goes to one side, one goes to the other side. The detail is pretty awesome. They move around. They can do little dances. I don't know. And I've shown the Shredder figures and stuff, so I'm not gonna pop those up again. Michelangelo, don't fall down, please. And the Splinter, I put him on one of these little hero stands because his feet are a little flimsy. He stands up, but if I'm over here at this desk and I move around, it kind of like shakes and he falls over. So it looks like I'm torturing him. But this is the scene from Turtles 2 where he was captured. No.
Right.
But yeah, he's got his ear cut off like in the movie. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see. And he's got his arms. Of course, he has his arms. That was a dumb thing to point out. But I don't know. The detail of these people, these figures are pretty cool. I'm trying to find all of them. And I love the packaging. The Turtles came in a 2-pack. Of course, I take them out, but I leave a lot of the accessories in. They come with their own slices of pizza. I leave Michelangelo's nunchucks in here because I'm afraid to lose them. It comes with
actual pizza.
Little pieces of pizza, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And they have extra hands and stuff like that. Just the artwork on the box is so amazing. You know, and you have the description of turtles and all this stuff.
I've never really considered myself to be much of an artist, but when I was a kid, when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, it was the only thing that I drew. I swear.
Oh yeah.
I drew turtles every single way I possibly could.
I would always draw them. That, and there was a phase where I went through where I drew Pokemon, but like mostly turtles. It was mostly turtles. And that image though, this is the Shredder and Splinter 2-pack. That image is amazing. That's one of my earliest memories is that picture. I think I might have seen this movie in the drive-in theater when I guess I was like 4 years old, or I was like 4 or 5 when the movie came out. So I probably saw it in a drive-in. I remember being at a drive-in and seeing that poster. That's the only memory I have. And the dumb thing, and this is how you know I have an action figure problem. I bought this 2-pack yesterday, and they have the Shredder in the 2-pack with Splinter. But as I've shown before, I already have the Shredder. But I've contemplated this for several days because I wanted the Splinter. And at one point they had a single Splinter and I couldn't find one. And now it's hard to track one down. That's not like $1 million. So don't fall down, Shredder. I'm going to put you back over there. So yeah, I broke down and bought them. So now I have an extra one that, who knows, maybe if that one breaks, I'll have a spare.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I'm still looking out for the other 2 turtles. I could buy the 2-pack again and just color their bandanas, I guess, but that's not the same. Not the same at all.
Yeah, you would know that they're not real.
Yeah, I've got to slow down. But the detail is amazing. They're pretty cool. I don't really play with them too much. I put Raphael's size in his hands and just have him standing there. Maybe I could leave him here, like Raphael's watching everybody.
Yep. He's sort of just like peeking.
He's hiding. He's. Were you seen? Of course not. I lost the side. Damn. Oh no. I did that when I first opened them. I took one side out of his hand and did the whole thing. But yeah. But that's pretty much what I did over the last few days. It's fun, I guess. I slept almost all day today. Well, not all day. I think I slept until about 10 or almost 11 a.m., which I never sleep that late. But I didn't eat a lot. I ate yesterday at Hooters around 4 p.m. and didn't eat again until like today at like 2. Didn't do it on purpose. I just kind of forgot, I guess. But,
well, this was a Kirkpatrick family get together day. So my parents drove up from Newberry Springs.
Nice.
And then my wife's best friend Jess came and joined us tonight. Corey came over and hung out, and so we had pork tenderloin, bacon and green beans, jalapeno poppers.
Nice.
My youngest daughter made focaccia bread, and then we had salad, mashed potatoes. So, I mean, as we always say, if you left hungry, it's your fault.
Yeah. With the Hooters, I didn't really eat anything special today, but for some frozen things, I guess. I don't know. But at Hooters, I had this fish sandwich, and I haven't eaten fish at Hooters before. And I was like, "Is this a wise decision?" I didn't know because like they're more known for wings and burgers, so it's like, well, is
Right.
fish a good? But it was pretty good. It was really good. It was a very tender. I think it was a cod, and it was like it was grilled instead of fried. So I've always liked grilled chicken or chicken. I keep calling it chicken. Grilled fish instead of fried fish. I don't know. I just like it better. Super tender, super juicy, and good flavor. The bread was great. Fries. They had curly fries, but it kind of not freaked me out, but they weren't brownish color like an Arby's or whatever. They were like the regular color French fry but curled. I was like, what is this?
Okay.
They were good. It was pretty good food.
I don't generally think of people going to Hooters for the food.
No, but I mean, I thought I better try something I think I might like instead of just getting like, whatever, give me whatever you think is good. I was distracted though. It took the waitress 3 times to come to the table for me to finally get my order out. I was like, let me get a, let me get, I need another minute. Like, but it was good.
I had the same, I remember having exactly the same problem where I couldn't get
Yeah.
my words out properly. You know,
You try not
I
to
don't know.
stare. Try not to be like, you're just like in the corner, like,
You're like, don't make eye contact. Don't sound like a moron.
yeah, that's kind of
Oh.
where I was. It was funny too. My cousin was like, hey, if you weren't hassled all day, I would ask for your number. And I'm just sitting here like, oh no, he didn't just say it. She didn't get upset or anything. She kind of laughed at it, but it was pretty funny.
I mean, again, I feel like if you work at a Hooters, you have to kind of expect that people are going to get drunk. They're going to end up saying some things.
Yeah.
And making comments. That doesn't make it right.
But... No, but as long as you don't take it too far, I think it's fun to kind of, I don't want to say play. It makes it sound a little really terrible, but like, kind of like, hey, you're pretty, and that's like, leave it at that. Like, don't be like, what are you doing after you get off? Like, nothing cheap. I felt creepy just saying that.
Right.
What if that one Hooters girl is watching and then she's like, oh, I'm never going to watch him again. But I don't know. It's nice. It was like an hour. I think that place is like a little over an hour away from my house. It's not too far, and I remembered, oh man, I almost remembered everything today, but I had
better late than never.
I had the ticker going already, but I forgot to swap the things. And just to remind everybody that, May 1st coming up very soon, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, we're going to talk to Eric Wallace, who is the boss of The Flash. Well, not the boss. I guess Iris is the boss.
The showrunner.
Yeah. He's like the manager or we'll just say showrunner. I'm trying to be funny, but it doesn't work. I'm excited to see what's coming out of Flash. I know.
I am too.
This episode is mostly about, oh yeah, I forgot to do that too. This was supposed to happen in the beginning of the show, but I forgot to click it. And here I am as Steven. Isn't that funny? And I guess you're the bad guy.
I am. I look nothing like Ethan Hawke.
But it's still pretty cool. Like, it blends together really well.
It really does. So, how are you liking Moon Knight?
It's pretty good. I do like it. I just watched the latest episode earlier today. I didn't know if you wanted to go into that now and kind of touch on the Flash at the end.
I feel like that poster you just put up is a good segue into the conversation. So, honest question: how familiar were you with Moon Knight before the show started?
I wasn't very familiar at all. I don't even know if I heard of the character before the show was announced. When I heard Moon Knight is coming, I'm like, wait, what's that? I think that was my reactions, because I may have heard the name once before, but I didn't know anything about the character. I knew he wore a hood, and that was pretty much it. I didn't know if it was like, I didn't know anything about the character itself. When I started watching the show, I was like, this is a nice way. I like the elements and the layers of this character. Yeah,
I was the same. I was vaguely familiar of the character, but I didn't know a whole lot. I think as I knew the show was coming out and people were talking about it, I had done some research about Moon Knight. Some people were talking about him as though he were sort of like the Batman of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, makes a little bit of sense. Also, with a little bit of Incredible Hulk in there, because I know that's still Marvel, same world, like
Right.
But it's that cross. There's so many layers. As I watched it, I didn't realize how deep it went until about the third episode. And I'm like, wow, okay, it really kind of goes deeper than you think.
It really does. It really does. Probably my favorite thing that I enjoy, at least right now, is the fact that we really get to see the story from the perspective of Steven.
Yes.
Um,
Which is cool for
and
me because I'm just sitting on my couch.
right,
Everybody can see it like I do.
You get to see it like you do. No, I think that the fact that Steven is what we call an unreliable narrator, he loses time, right? And that he's essentially sharing his body with an alternate personality, and so we see that he's kind of in and out of consciousness. He's just kind of like waking up in some places, and he doesn't know how he got there. I think it's interesting that he had thought that he was just sleepwalking, and all those crazy things that he was doing to try to make sure that he wouldn't sleepwalk, or if he did sleepwalk, that it would be obvious. Like, that he tied himself up by the ankle or put sand. That crazy idea of putting sand on the floor, so that if he had left, then he would have left footprints.
Yeah.
All those crazy, even the tape along the doorway.
I love the chain. I really do, because he's like wakes up like, oh. And, that show, like, it reminded me so much of other things, but it wasn't like copying those other things. It's just certain elements that remind you of it, which kind of draw me into it more.
Yeah.
So
what
if
else?
it just because Naomi, I couldn't get into that at all because it didn't really connect with me on anything.
Right.
But with this, it's like the Smallville, and I always make the examples and comparisons of Smallville, but with the Doomsday in Smallville, I think that was season 8. He's going around as an EMT, but then killing people and doesn't know it. And that's sort of what's going on in Moon Knight. And so that kind of interested me in the first episode. I'm like, oh, and it kind of made me pay attention more. And then another layer, and then another layer. And I just kind of got sucked in by the second to third episode. I was just hooked on it.
I think a lot of it is that Steven is such a hapless loser.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he just seems like he can't get out of his own way.
Yeah.
He's got a job that he doesn't really like very much.
Yeah.
You can tell that this guy he's intelligent, and he knows a lot about Egyptian lore and history and everything else. And instead he's, got that soul crushing job of working in the gift shop instead.
And that's another thing I like about the show is like that guy is a lot like me, not just because he has the same name, but he works at like a little shop. I don't work in some museum shop, and I don't know about archaeology and all these other antiques. I don't know anything about that stuff, but still the idea of being in a job that not necessarily that I hate, but that I'm like, this could be a lot more fun than it is. And working in this shop, and then like I woke up one day in the desert with blood on my face, and I had no idea. I never told anybody about that, but part of that story is false. But yeah, I mean, I like the fact that character has a lot of traits that I kind of see in myself. And with the fantasy of wanting to be some kind of crazy superhero or an anti-hero. I don't even know what he is exactly. I do, but it's kind of hard to say what he's a good guy. We know that, but
he's definitely a vigilante, and part of it we know is that he's the avatar of the Egyptian god Khonshu, the god of the moon, who brings he's all about bringing justice upon the wicked. So if you've done evil, then Khonshu will send the Moon Knight after you to make you pay for it. I think that what we see with Steven is this idea that he's just screaming out for an opportunity to kind of get his life shaken up.
Yeah.
He's very bored with his existence. Maybe he would have preferred a more normal way for things to get interesting, but I mean, to wake up and realize that not only is he a superhero, but he's also married.
Yeah,
that
throws it in there, and he's like, "Wait a minute, And then the girl, finds him. It's like, Mark, what are you doing? Who's Mark? I'm not Mark. I'm Steven. And it's like he's so confused. She's confused why he has an accent, and then you realize he's like, not only is he an avatar for some god, but he also has like another identity, another personality entirely. So there's 3 different identities in one. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, clearly they had been having a relationship for quite a long time.
Yeah.
She's American, and the Mark Spector character is American, or at least has an American accent.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder just how long he had been out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you
Yeah.
hold down a job? How do you hold down a job if you're constantly getting, disappearing all the time?
And that's the thing. Like, I think at first it started because like, this Mark guy like was married and all this, so it seemed like their relationship was going on for at least a year or 2. Like they had this whole thing going, this life or whatever, and Steven didn't know anything about it. So like, when did he go? How did he lose so much time that he didn't know until he started realizing it? I'm thinking maybe when he was asleep at night, like Mark comes out, like, okay, now I can go like see my wife, get some breakfast, go to the grocery store, do all this stuff, and then go back before he wakes up. It's crazy, but I love that. I would love to see where it goes, because I'm thinking like, I wonder if they're gonna find a way to kind of split them apart and have 2 different physical people, or are they always going to be one guy, or are they both going to blend together and be one person? Like that's a mixture of both. Like I'd love the fact that it could go anywhere, really. I'm sure people that know the character are going to know how it turns out as far as him as the person, but still, I don't want to go back and look up anything about Moon Knight because I'm like, oh, I don't want to know anything. I want to go into it fresh and see how I like it.
I don't know how much liberty they're taking with the character, but we know that generally whenever they do an adaptation from a comic book character onto a TV show or a movie, there's always a difference.
Yeah, there's always some changes.
I think that I do enjoy the interplay though between that dynamic between kind of Mark Spector, who he comes across as being, very confident. He knows how the suit works. He knows how to work with Khonshu, and then you have Steven, who again, he kind of is the bumbling idiot a little bit, and yet there are moments when we see that Steven is there's more to him than meets the eye.
Yeah, and that character, another thing it reminds me of a lot of Firestorm, which that would probably be the thing to say at the end of this so we can go into the Flash, but I already said it now. But he reminds me of Firestorm a lot in the earlier days of Legends, where you had Stein as like the smarts, and he knew what to do, which that's kind of who Steven is. He has the knowledge of these constellations and all this stuff. And then Mark is like the muscle. He's like, I don't know anything about that, but I'm going to beat you up. And like, he could fight without the suit. He could kick ass without any help. And of course, when push comes to shove, he's like, okay, suit, come on. And then he needs it. But that's kind of like the Firestorm idea. Right. In a sense. I mean, not the same, but it's similar.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's probably going to take a long time for both the Steven and Mark Spector personalities to come to any kind of, I don't know, reconciliation where one doesn't feel like they have to overpower the other, where they find balance. But it's an entire show about balance.
It really is.
That's the thing when we look at the Ethan Hawke character, Arthur Harrow.
Oh yeah.
Right? He himself is an avatar for another god, and I think it's for Anuit, and he has that tattoo of the scales, and kind of the idea was that he had been at one point an avatar of Khonshu, just like Steven, but he had gotten tired of waiting to bring about justice until they'd already committed the crime. Whereas Anuit will weigh a person and judge them before they ever have an opportunity to do bad things. And they simply get judged on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me is it's terrifying, and again, it's absolutely murder.
Yeah. I love the struggle too. Like in the third episode, you had Steven and Mark and Khonshu, like all three talking, like, we have to do this. No. It was like, it was almost like the three Peter Parkers.
Yeah.
In a way, it was like three different people, three different characters. And it's just like, okay, this is interesting. Who's going to take control?
Yeah.
And you would think that I guess the Avatar rules, it's like the person has to give permission. Like he has, but then you realize that even Mark loses time. He also goes out, and so Khonshu takes over, I guess, and just kills everybody. And then they're like, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. I know I did it. No, I know. And then you realize neither one of them did that. And it's like, okay, so really none of the two guys have real control at all. I always thought Mark was like the guy in charge, but he's really not.
No. And I think that Khonshu has a lot of problems. You would think that if you're a god, that you've got things figured out.
Yeah.
And Khonshu is really troubled. He clearly is this deity that is really on the outs with the other gods too.
Yeah. He does things he's not supposed to. He kind of like, because at first in the first episode I was like, I thought he was maybe the bad guy, like the devil or like some kind of evil demon, or like I didn't know what he was.
Yeah.
And then, you see the suit come out the first time and he's wearing an actual suit, which I thought was funny. I'm like, oh, it's different than the other one. And then, you see things develop and you see the story go and you realize maybe he's not a bad guy. He's just kind of crazy, but he's not like a bad guy. Every time you think you know what's going on, at least in my perspective, it's different. Like you think okay, I know, and then it changes and it's something entirely different. Which I love that because it always keeps me thinking. It always keeps me watching and I don't get bored and distracted. Like watching something like Naomi or shows that don't really have like a ton of surprises. It's just kind of one direction. I don't really like that necessarily.
No, I agree. I think that the show has done a really good job of keeping us on our toes and keeping us guessing. Again, I've always thought of Ethan Hawke as being sort of a clean cut kind of character. And so the idea that he's really taken on this role sort of like a cult leader, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot like a cult leader, sure.
Yeah. He's got all these people that have their allegiance to him. And, in a lot of ways, this idea that, it seems like he's doing some really good things. The community that they're in, they don't have crime. People are educated. People have families. It seems like there's a lot of positive things, but what they have to do in order to get there, it's almost like Thanos, snapping away half the population.
I mean, and kind of if you think about it, Thanos really was trying to do good things. Like he wasn't trying to kill people just for the sake of killing people. But I think with this other dude, he's a little bit different. Like he does, like on the surface, you look at it and you're right. Look, he does do a lot of good, but it's like he does that to kind of like that's his disguise. He's really this evil guy, and they try to bring him in front of the God Council or whatever, that the group of gods. They're like, oh, imprison him. He's doing this thing, and it's true, but like he manipulates everybody, even the other gods. Like, oh no, I have to bring peace, and everybody has food now. Every villager has a Hungry Man dinner, or a Hot Pocket or whatever he gives them, and they're like, you know what? You're right. We love you. You're a great guy, and he can just manipulate almost anybody and convince them.
Right.
It's like I love that. It's a good bad guy.
It is. It's what makes him such a very dangerous villain. And you would think sometimes we're used to the villains who are over the top and just very outgoing. And the idea that here's a villain who is quite soft spoken, you might underestimate him in regards to just how dangerous he is. But when you realize that he manipulated the situation to get Khonshu banished. I mean, Khonshu did not help himself at all.
No. Like he knew what he was doing the whole time and still did everything he knew. He was being not manipulated, but he knew what the guy was trying to pull, and he still did everything anyway.
Right.
But it was one of those things he had to do it. It wasn't like
right. Yeah. Harrow does though seem to have a very keen understanding of people, who they are deep down.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's able to peel back the layers and the kind of who people are that they try to hide underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's it makes him very difficult to deal with because he knows if you're lying or not. And he comes across as being very humble and simple, and I think people underestimate him.
Oh yeah, he definitely is very powerful and very dangerous. At first, he kind of seemed like this bumbling like villain, like he's gonna not bumbling like he was a dummy, but like he was gonna mess up. He was gonna get ahead of himself and get overwhelmed. But so far, he's so sharp. He hasn't messed up once, and it's like, wow, okay, when is it gonna happen? And every time you think, oh, he's about to screw up, oh, nope, he comes out ahead every time.
Yeah, I think that the idea that you should never mistake quietness for weakness,
right?
And that's what I see here. And I honestly, I believe that really goes to show a lot about what Ethan Hawke brings to the role. That it's not an easy part to play. So I think it's great.
It's really great. And like I said, I just finished the 3rd episode and I'm waiting for the 4th, which I believe they come out on Wednesdays. I'm like, what is today? Sunday. Oh man, there's almost 3 days, like 3 or 4 days. Like, I can't wait. But it took me like 3 days to watch that one because I forgot it was on and I was watching other things. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We're still talking about Moon Knight. I was getting distracted.
Right.
But with Moon Knight, I love how they're using both suits now. It's like the suits have their own identity. When Mark takes over, it's Moon Knight, and when Steven takes over, I believe they're calling it Mr. Knight. Well, I don't know if they called it that. I don't know if they called it that, but I think I read it somewhere, like in the comics, that was what it was called. It was like 2 different things, and they're using them. I don't know. Again, I don't know much about the character's history and whatever, but I think it was called that. Something Knight, but not the same as Moon Knight, because they differentiate the suits as different identities because it's Mark and Steven and everything.
I was really glad that we finally got to see him use the suit to go and fight.
Yeah.
And for long extended periods of time. So definitely not overrated. I think that we're seeing that Moon Knight is quite a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and his cape is bulletproof apparently. Maybe not bulletproof, but it's like magic. Well, of course it's magic. It's a god giving him the ability to do things. But I was almost going to say it's bulletproof, but then he's able to get speared. And when Steven gets speared, he's like impaled through his body. He's like, oh, Mark, take the body, hurry. And then Mark's like, oh, that's all? Well, whatever. And it didn't really bother him as much. So I don't know. Maybe he has a better grasp on the powers and it doesn't hurt him. And he used his cape to protect not everybody, but to protect from the bullets. And they flung it back out to fling the bullets back out. It's like, it does remind you a lot of Batman in a way.
Right.
And just the fact that each version of him, whoever's in control of the body, has different characteristics as far as what they can do in fights and how their powers work. It's the same, but it's different. And I really like that. It's almost like Venom latching onto a different host and different characteristics from whoever he's attached to.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see whether Steven's personality with the Moon Knight suit is going to be ultimately an asset or if it's going to be a hindrance. I'm curious about that. As far as Oscar Isaac, were you familiar with him as a character prior to this project?
I really wasn't, honestly. I think I'd seen him. Like, I recognized the face maybe, but I didn't really know much about him.
So, yeah, I mean, he's been in quite a few things. Let's
Some
see.
things I'll probably recognize once you say. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I do remember that. But
He
some of
has
those guys.
probably the one that he's best known for was for X-Men Apocalypse, where he played Apocalypse.
Okay.
So he was in that one. He was also in Dune.
I haven't seen Dune, so
Okay, you need to
I've
go
heard it's
see
good.
Dune. Dune's fantastic. He was also one of the voices in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen that. I want
So
to see it again, but I've seen it.
yeah, so he's certainly done a good number of movies. Um, trying to see if there's
Okay.
anything else that kind of stands out. Oh, well, this one's the big thing. That he was in the new Star Wars movies.
I thought so. I was gonna say, like, as you were naming off the things, I was like, was he in Star Wars? I had to think because,
Yeah,
like, I recognized the eyes. I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, okay, I have seen him before then.
yeah.
Which I've
So
seen
he
some of the other stuff too, but that was a big thing.
exactly. So he had played Poe Dameron
Hmm.
um, in the Star Wars franchise
Okay, yeah, yeah,
for those three. So again, he's been around the block
yeah.
as far as movies and TV shows. So I really like what he brings to the character. Um, again, I don't think just anybody could step in and play somebody who has multiple personality dissociative disorder and make it seem believable.
I mean, there's probably people that could, but like he's probably the best because he's like not very young, but not an older veteran actor who's like done everything in the world.
Right.
Because like a Willem Dafoe came to mind. Because No Way Home, perfect. Like that's a good example of it. Which I'm still not convinced that he was actually multiple like freaking out, or if he was just playing it up as evil Norman, just be like, hey, I'm so scared. I don't know, but it doesn't matter because that's not Moon Knight. But yeah, he does great in Moon Knight. I mean, I almost expect like different. Well, I was gonna say like different. Maybe Mark will have a beard and Steven won't have a beard, or. But I don't think they'll push it that far. But I don't know. I'm really excited to see what happens next because they basically imprisoned Khonshu and he's like, oh, free me if I tell Mark to free me if they capture. And then dude's got the what happened? Oh my god, what was it? Something big happened at the end of that show, and I just saw it, but I can't remember what exactly happened. That was the big thing, but there was something else with that. I really don't remember what I was trying to find out in my head. I was like, but it kind of left on a cliff, not a cliffhanger, but like the moment of like, oh wow, he's about to like step up his game. Like,
Right.
They're trying to find that tomb and everything, and like all this stuff is happening. It's like building up and building up. I don't know. I get so excited. I'm like jumbled. I'm like, I can't even figure out what part I like the most. Did you see that part? Did you see that part? It's really good. I liked it a lot more than I thought because normally characters I don't know, I don't really like. Not because I don't know them, but they're just, if I have nothing to care about in it, then why bother? And that's how I kind of felt with Captain Marvel. I went back and watched it. I was like, okay, whatever. And with Moon Knight, I was like, oh, here we go. And then I was like, ooh. Oh, and by the third episode, I'm like, oh, is it Wednesday?
Right.
And it
Right.
really captured me. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I think it's great. And again, the writing is really good. I think the character is dynamic and interesting and well acted. And I think that sometimes you watch stories and it's very obvious what's going on, and clearly this story is there's just multiple layers to it. So there's a lot to really think your way through. So yeah, I find it to be just really, really well done. I'm looking for. I really feel like the next thing that's coming up is that Harrow is going to end up discovering, finding and releasing Annuit, and that's when things are really going to get crazy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's. I don't know how many episodes they're supposed to have. Is it 10 or 12? I don't know.
So many of the Disney Plus series have been relatively short. They've been generally between 8 and 10 episodes.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Like, I would say around 10 for that one. WandaVision, didn't really need that many. I think they had like 8, but that was a specific story that could be told in that amount of episodes. But with Moon Knight, I feel like that's a deeper story, definitely, and it needs as many as it can get. I mean, I don't think 27 would be, that's way too many, but because they are 1 hour episodes, 56 minutes, 52 minutes, whatever, but they're long episodes and they're great. I mean, I can't get enough of it. I'm really surprised because I don't want to say that's one of my favorite Disney shows. I don't want to say Disney show, but Marvel MCU shows on Disney Plus. It's one of them. It's on there. It's probably in the top 5 at least, if I had to pick. I don't know what my number 1 favorite show would be. Hawkeye's number 99. It's actually not bad. Now that I've seen all the movies leading up to Hawkeye, I really like Hawkeye a little bit more. Like, what was the one? Oh, yes, when I watched Black Widow. The end of Black Widow, I was like, oh, okay, now the Hawkeye makes a little bit more sense. And it's fun. I like all this stuff. I've almost finished watching it all. I still have to rewatch. I'm like on the last phase. I got to rewatch all this. Basically, I'm at the TV show phase.
Okay.
Where I got to start watching WandaVision again, and then all that What If and all that stuff. Because I just finished Endgame not too long ago. Then watched No Way Home again for like the 3rd or 4th time. I don't know. But none of those are Moon Knight, and I keep getting distracted because the moon is out and like Mark is taking over. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna fall asleep and wake up bloody, and then we're gonna have like, I don't know, Tom Cruise is gonna be on the show, and we're like, weird. How did this happen? I don't know.
It would surely make for a very interesting podcast.
Yeah, can't you? Hey, no, that would be crazy. Those would be good powers to have, I guess, like controlling the moon and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, there's not much else I guess we could cover on Moon Knight itself. I mean, it's a really good show so far. It's good. I don't know what else to say about it, honestly.
No, just that I'm excited about our next episode.
Yeah,
where that goes.
I really am. It's because like thinking that's 4 episodes after this new one, and it's like, wow, you're like halfway through.
Right.
They go by so fast, and they're only doing one a week. Imagine if they would have binged, if they would have released all the episodes initially, like a lot of shows do, then I probably would have already seen them all. Everybody probably would have, and they're going to be like, oh, a whole other year, no. That's the only thing bad about streaming and binge watching. That's why I like how Netflix does stuff sometimes. They'll do like, say there's 10 episodes, they'll have 5, and then like 3 months later, they'll have another 5. I like that format a little bit better just because you're not binging everything at once and then you still have a little bit of time and maybe you've only got like 8 months or so before the next one comes out instead of a full year.
Right. It does draw things out a little bit.
It does. But then sometimes the part 2s get delayed and you're like, it's been 4 months. Where's the other episodes of Fuller House? Or I did actually react that way when Fuller House, like part 2 didn't show up right away. I was like, where's that? Then I realized why. It was a decent show, but I was like, no. I got to get Paramount Plus again and watch the new season of iCarly. I'm probably not going to do that. Who am I kidding? I probably will.
It wouldn't shock me.
All these streaming services are getting me. Like they're actually getting me. I'm like, I'm not going to subscribe to them all at one time. And I think Paramount might be the only one I don't have right now. I have Peacock, Hulu. I don't have Netflix, but I have Peacock, Hulu, Disney, and HBO Max.
You dropped Netflix.
I mean, I just didn't renew it. Okay. I forgot the last big thing I watched on Netflix because there wasn't anything new that I was like, I have to see this, so I just kind of just let it go. Because I would find myself watching like having Netflix for 3-4 months and maybe watching it 1 hour a week, or if that. And at that point, it was just watching The Office reruns before they went to Peacock. And I was like, why do I even have this? I got lucky on the Hulu deal and have it for 99 cents a month for a year.
Oh, wow.
That was like a Black Friday thing this past year. It is the basic, so it's got ads and all that stuff. And I can upgrade, but it'll be like $15 a month. So like I'm good with the 99 cents. I can watch a few ads. And then Peacock's like $5. But I did get the premium, the second tier HBO, whatever that is, like $16 or whatever it is, 14, 15. I think it's 15 because the $10 one is like the basic one, but the 15 one is the only one you can stream in 4K. You can't stream in 4K on the basic. I was like, that's dumb. I don't really care about the ads, but I wanted the 4K, and so I was like,
I like HBO Max.
Yeah. I've been looking on there, and I was telling you like before on Messenger and stuff. There was the Batman animated movie I've been watching. It came out in 2016. It's the Batman: The Return of the Caped Crusaders, and it's Adam West and Burt Ward voicing Batman and Robin. And I've only seen about half of it because I started doing other things and then never went back to finish it yet. But it's good. It's very cheesy, like Batman 66, and
of course,
I love when Robin will find a clue that the Riddler left. It's like, oh, Jenkins. I always say Jenkins instead of Jeepers. Like, that's a Scooby-Doo thing anyway. But
golly gee willikers.
Yeah, like, holy clue, Batman. Look, it's a dot on a piece of paper. That's no dot, Robin. That's a circle, but a small one. He must be at the carousel at the park. Oh, you're right. And they'll know instantly where he's at. And I love that, though. It's really,
right.
really funny. And it's like old Adam West voice. So it's and the animation and the story, it's like they're the young characters from 1966, but just voiced and animated today. So it's like better animation style, but the Batman 66 stuff. And I don't know, it's good. And then all the other animated DC stuff on there, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know that the old Adam West, Burt Ward, Batman and Robin, I know that it's so cheesy and over the top, but there really was kind of an innocence, I think, to it.
Yeah.
And a real simplicity. Something that I feel with all of our CGI and everything else, we've kind of missed out on a little bit. Anyway.
Yeah. I kind of wish they would do another. I know they can't do another Batman because like it would be so awkward. Burt Ward is still around, but it would be maybe Burt Ward could play Alfred in an animated series, and it would be. But then you couldn't really do that style without Adam West.
Right.
I mean, you could do a voice-alike person, but it wouldn't be the same. It would have been great to have more of that. And I still wish like they could have made Crisis like a couple of years earlier than they did. To have like, imagine having Burt Ward and Adam West walking like, holy crimson skies of death. You know what we have to do, Robin. And then like that, and you wouldn't see them in suits, but that, it would have been great to have him in that. But.
And that would explain where Batman went.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Kate Kane had been like, Uncle Bruce?
It's you. Kate Kane. Where were you?
And then he clutches his chest and dies, and then we would know, okay, he's dead.
Yeah.
That's
I wish they would have explained that. Yeah, they didn't. I know because he had passed away, so he couldn't be there. But in the show, in Crisis, in that Batman 66 universe, where was he? He was off being the mayor of Quahog, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
In Family Guy. That's where he went. But, yeah. Speaking of mayors, Central City has a mayor, and they also are the home of the Flash. That was terrible. But yeah, the Flash. I really liked this last episode. I really did.
I have to agree. I know that I've been tough on the show, but I have enjoyed. I think the last 2 episodes, I've enjoyed actually quite a bit. The
whole fire thing you kind of called. It was like, and I've always thought like, okay, they're going to bring Ronnie Raymond back somehow. They're mentioning him, or maybe they're going to bring something back. And you were like, oh, the fire, it's Ronnie. I was like, maybe. And that whole story now is just like it's twists and turns, and they get you. Like I should say the WB, it is Warner Brothers, but the CW just gets you. You think it's going to be this, and then it's this. Like Naomi, you thought it was going to be great, and it wasn't. They always get you. They always get you.
No, it has been a very consistent theme in all of their shows that they love to do their misdirection.
Yes.
And so they get you thinking it's going to be one thing, and then no, it's something else. And we certainly saw that here. The other part for me is the character of Caitlin Snow. I feel really bad for her because throughout the entire series, she's really every person that she's gotten close to has died or left her, and part of me had wanted Ronnie to come back.
Yeah.
If for no other reason that as they're wrapping things up, I wanted her to finally find happiness.
Hmm.
But I thought, they've been too consistent about not giving her someone.
Yeah. And I like the idea that they don't give you the cheesy happy ending because, like, I read an article today about King of the Hill. Now, there's the talks of revival, and how what made King of the Hill work was the fact that it never kind of went away from its roots of who they were as a show. It never changed on a grand, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it didn't really change that much.
Right.
And that's great. So when you have a series end and everybody goes off to college or gets a new job and has to move to Detroit or whatever thing it is, that always like, really, that feels so fake. With this, if Ronnie would come back and he's like, oh, we're married, blah, 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 blah. They have little kids, little icicles or whatever. It would seem too fake. It would seem too like, oh, don't do that. This is not the natural progression of things in this world where all these superpowers exist. You don't get the happy ending.
I know. I will say that I enjoyed seeing Robbie Amell come back and do these rather touching scenes with Caitlin. Makes you realize that the real relationship that they had prior to him, sacrificing himself for the sake of the world.
And I love those flashbacks. The first one I saw, I was like, wow, I can't believe they saved that footage for 8 years. Wait a minute, they reshot it. It got me because I was so into the story. I'm like, oh, wow, this is old footage. But I was like, no, it's not. They did a good job at like setting everything to make you feel like you're back in like 2000, whatever it was.
They did a great job.
And I was like, okay, this is how Robbie Amell is going to be in the show, flashbacks. That he's not going to be in the show. Because at the last minute, I thought, okay, that's not going to be Ronnie in the fire at all, in any form. It's going to be just like, I thought it was Thawne, honestly. Like a Thawne doing something else. And then, you see all these flashbacks. I was like, he won't be like, Robbie Amell won't play anything. He won't be in the actual like current timeline. He'll be in past memories. But then boom, there he was. I was like, ooh. Even though he's playing something a little bit different now, I still like the fact that he's there.
Yeah, I knew that from the moment the flame ended up looking like Chester's dad, who we all knew was dead. I had a feeling that the flame was really there, just trying to manipulate people to get what it wanted.
Which reminded me of Thawne. That's why I started thinking, like, is this Thawne? Because he always played off everybody's like fears, emotions, everything. But yeah, the fire it comes out, and they're like, "Oh, let's capture it. Let's capture it. Let's capture it." It always fails. It almost felt like Tom and Jerry. You know, it's like they were chasing, and nothing ever worked, and they finally got him into human form as Ronnie. Everybody's like, and I was shocked. I was like, "Wow, he's really back. This is great."
Yeah.
But he was manipulating them the entire time, which was great. And now he's got that little strap thingy. I forget what they called it. The Firestorm thing. And
the Matrix.
I was going to call it the Tesseract. But yeah, they had that. And then his whole entire plan was to manipulate them every step of the way to make that so he could be. I don't know why he had to become a human in order to do more damage, because he was already unstoppable. So, like, I guess he's smarter and he's able to get in and out of places and move around easier as a human form.
I think that the bottom line is that the Firestorm Matrix allows him to actually have a body.
Yeah, and he wanted to be alive. He wanted to have a life. And he could kill people easier, too, if he felt like it. He could be like, hey, everybody, you want a pizza? Oh, you're all dead. You know?
Well, and I think that for me, that was the other thing where I realized that this fire thing wasn't really Ronnie. Ronnie was a good person.
Mm-hmm.
He was a genuinely good person. The idea that they would bring him back but turn him into this homicidal killer, I thought that would be just so completely out of character for him.
Yeah, but then again, they made good explanations to why it could have been him. And it reminded me of season 1, or maybe it was season 2. No, Firestorm was in season 1, right? Or was it 2? I can't remember when they actually had him there before he went on
I'm
to
not
Legends.
sure. I'm not sure.
I want to say it was 2. But either way, when they first find Firestorm, nobody knows who it is. It's almost like they went back to that and kind of recaptured it to kind of end on how they started,
right?
In a sense. And you see him running around, and he didn't kill anybody necessarily, but he could have, because he was lost. He was confused. He was fused with Stein, and they were both like confused. And then that's kind of how I felt they were doing with this at first. But then they threw that curveball, and it was completely different.
I really felt like Caitlin was so desperate to prove that it was her husband, and to try to explain just why he might be acting the way that he was acting,
right.
that she would have made any justification for his actions if she were to get her husband back. That's what I really felt like about her situation.
I kind of feel like, though, that there might be part of Ronnie left, because it does seem like that's what they want us to think. Because, well, there obviously is some piece of him, because the visual of his body, I think that is his body. I think what they did worked, but his mind is gone, or that's what they think anyway. But I think part of it's left because he has all the memories. He knew who Caitlin was. He knew about the weddings, or not the weddings, but the memories and the fact that they got married, and he knew about all that. So there was some piece of Ronnie in there somewhere. But it kind of does feel like Firestorm all over again when they that's kind of the same thing that happened. And Caitlin's like, it's Ronnie, and then they saved him, and he was. But then he ended up doing the whole singularity thing, and then here comes Jefferson Jackson and all that. But I don't know. It feels the same. And I think they're trying to tease that. I think they're trying to oh, there's a piece of Ronnie left. Flash is going to be like, oh, we love you, Ronnie. Please come back. Don't hurt anyone anymore. Okay.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. Somebody had asked about, now that we know that Firestorm or Deathstorm is essentially the bad guy here for this season. They were like, how do you think that the Flash is going to stop him? And my response was, I don't know, but it will probably be some type of lecture and a hug.
Yep. It's got to have something. I mean, I think it's going to involve more. It's going to be centered more around Caitlin, maybe. Maybe Caitlin gives him a lecture and a kiss. And then he's like, because if you remember, we all know the Flash does that all the time. But that's that kind of ending, that kind of resolution always irritates me. And they did that with, what was it, the second Transformers movie, where Shia LaBeouf's character essentially dies and goes to robot heaven. As if that weren't outlandish enough or crazy. Megan Fox goes, I love you. What? Oh, I'm alive again. That was just the worst thing ever. And that's basically what the Flash does all the time.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like they might at least make us think that they're going to do that, and then spin it around, and maybe Deathstorm becomes a good guy. And it really is Ronnie. He's like, I was there the whole time because I'm, but he took over my brain, and I'm a good guy now, but I have to go now, Caitlin. It's too unsafe for me to be around you. And he'll leave. He'll be like resurrected in a way, but he'll leave anyway, like that kind of thing.
At least she'll know that he is in peace.
Yeah, until he dies 6 months later, and she sees it in the newspaper, and then he comes back a year later. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that could happen. One of the things that's very obvious to me, though, is that none of their powers are such that they're able to go and fight him physically.
Yeah,
right?
But they haven't tried to fight him yet as Deathstorm, though. That's the thing, too. It's like just the maiden fire, he was unstoppable. But now that he's like a human, kind of, maybe he has some weaknesses. Or maybe he's stronger. I don't know.
But it's sort of like, Mild Frost, who's, for whatever reason, she stopped being Killer Frost, and now her powers absolutely suck.
Yeah, she could do so much more.
Yeah, it's like she can't even chill down somebody's drink.
I know. She built, the Earth 2 version of her, built this huge ice bridge to go up to Zoom's lair that everybody walked up.
I remember during the Savitar season, there was this epic battle where she created these ice slides. This is our Caitlin we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
She had built these ice slides that allowed her to basically fly all over the city.
Yeah, kind of like Silver Surfer.
Yeah. And I just feel like, for whatever reason, they've really enjoyed nerfing her.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
just
I
haven't
know,
made her. Yeah,
I know the logical and like thing about it. It's like, oh, it's too expensive, but I mean, like at least have a good story reason as to why her powers started to suck. Like, yeah, we get it. It's going to cost $1 million to make her throw an icicle, but like, explain that in story. Like, oh, my wrist hurts, or yeah, I don't know, have some kind of explanation other than like, hey, I'm going with my boyfriend to get a cup of coffee. This is like Dawson's Creek or something now. It's like, I don't know. I'm not knocking the show, but it is like
no,
they do that though. They do like they minimize the powers. Go of course for budget, but like they don't ever really explain why they decided to start sucking
right.
and not be
We
good.
so like Allegra had that moment, gosh, last season where she went Super Saiyan with her powers,
Yeah,
and we have never seen her use them again.
no, not once. She's just the
Yeah,
reporter now. Like she's Lois Lane basically, but not as good.
yeah.
Oh, not as good of a reporter. That is.
She's
Um,
lower. She's lower lane.
yeah, lower lane, lowest lane. Oh gosh. I think we're gonna see like some kind of big battle at some point this season. At the end.
There's got to be. There's got to be. I still feel like they're not really dealing with Deathstorm as though it's really all that big a deal.
Not yet. Yeah, I think something big's gonna happen. Like he's gonna blow up a nuclear power plant or like something crazy, like end game level maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and we know that it's it's feasting on people's suffering.
I haven't really watched the Flash, but most of the characters on the show are nerfed on the show. Yeah, I mean they really are.
They really are.
I mean,
Yeah.
and again, it's for the budget and stuff. It's too expensive, but also I think it's if you see something happen every week, it's not special. It's not fun. It's not exciting. It's just oh, they're doing this again. Oh,
Right.
back when Ralph was on the show, oh, he stretched his arm. Ooh, but when something happens and you haven't seen it in a while, you're like, oh, they did it. And it creates this like amazing thing in this moment that you can't believe. So I think there's a little bit of both.
Yeah. So it's interesting the way that they're telling the story right now because they've got, we had seen that Iris was no longer at Star Labs. She was focusing all of her time at the newspaper.
Mhm.
And now she's over at, isn't she in Coast City?
Yeah, she
Right
well now we don't know where she is. But yeah, that's another thing. Well, no, we know where she is. Wait, no, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm thinking ahead. It was Coast City, yeah. They went to Coast City Allegra was trying to help this girl find her mom or whatever, and things got a little crazy.
Yeah. That's when her time sickness started acting up and she began missing time. And now this, I believe in the comics, she's referred to as Phantom Girl.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, but she's the girl that's able to be intangible and face through objects.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this last episode, she sort of got revenge on Iris. Iris did something where she ended up making this girl's mother disappear. I think I'd be pretty pissed off if somebody made my parents disappear.
Yeah, I mean, I know watching from the audience point of view, clearly she didn't mean to do it, but in that moment, when you're there, you're gonna be like, "What did you do? Why?" And I would probably feel the same way.
Yeah,
Even
so
though she didn't know, it's like you know something, you're not telling me.
Yeah, but she basically goes and does the same thing. She goes and absorbs Iris into herself.
And that's another annoying thing. I like the story and where it's going, but it's like, oh, here we go again. Iris is missing. Now they have to all find a way to get her back. Didn't we just see this like 2 years ago? And then, which is what led her to have these time sickness powers anyway. It's like, but I mean, it's interesting. It's at least I think what they're doing is trying to do that other storyline again because the first one was not as good. So like, let's do it better this time. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think Iris is dead.
No,
she's somewhere.
I think that it's good that Iris is able to have her own storyline separate from Barry's, but I still want them to have, stories that are together too. I think there needs to be a balance. To me, it just seems very obvious that there is that there's Barry and the team, and then there is Iris and the citizen, or Iris doing her own thing herself. So that just seems like a very deliberate decision on their part.
Yeah, I mean,
I think what happens.
I think what they might do is those two. Well, obviously, it's going to happen. Those two storylines are kind of going to fuse at some point. I don't know what the Phantom Girl or whatever her character's name would be. I don't know what role she's gonna play as far as the bigger picture. She's gonna be kind of evil, but then be I'm just misguided, and by the end of it, she's gonna be I'm sorry, it's okay. And that's kind of how that's gonna go, I think. But Barry finds out by the end of this episode that oh, she's gone. I have to save her. So he's gonna go after this little phasing girl, and then I think it's all going to connect. I don't know if she's going to kind of connect with Deathstorm at all. They might team up. Who knows? And I remember,
yeah, you think about maybe the one person who'd be able to affect Deathstorm is somebody who could be intangible and not get burned. I think that might be something.
And then Iris convince her. Yeah,
right. And my guess might be that Deathstorm might be vulnerable to Iris's newfound time abilities.
She could turn back time and take away the fire. And there's Ronnie. And then he's like, oh, I've got to go to Canada now or whatever. Wouldn't it be cool if he just joined Legends and Firestorm is in the last season of Legends? If it is the last season. That'd be amazing.
I really missed having Firestorm on the Legends to begin with. I mean, he was a good part of the team.
And that's the thing about Deathstorm, too. I had forgotten until I saw it online somewhere that they had done a Deathstorm before. A lot different. But on Earth 2, I believe it was, Earth 2 Ronnie was Deathstorm. And it was just pretty much evil Ronnie. It wasn't really Deathstorm, but that's the name they used. And I should have brought it. I never went anywhere, but I should have had the picture. But I saw that set photo of Tom Cavanaugh in a new suit. And it's it looks like a Zoom suit. It's a black suit. It kind of feels like a mixture of Zoom and then what was the guy's name that was in the Flashpoint villain? He had the suit on, like orange and black kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I forget his name, the character's name. It was like Vengeance or something. That's Batman, but it was something like that. And so that kind of reminds me of this new suit. And then Tom Cavanaugh's back in a suit. Is this Thawne as maybe Professor Zoom from the comics? Because they were the same guy. And it's interesting. I don't know there's no context to the picture, so we'll have to see what happens. But that looked pretty cool. And I don't know if that's from I guess that's from near the end of season 8. Because they did say they're going to have a season 9, but then there's speculation of how long is season 9 going to last. Is it going to be a full season, or is it going to be, a short half season, or even a third of a season, kind of like Arrow was?
There's a lot up in the air. I know that Jeffrey Martin, who plays Joe West.
Oh yeah.
He's officially leaving after this season.
Yeah.
So gosh, I hope that they find a good way to write him off the show.
Yeah. Maybe he's I remembered I having a daughter, so I'm going to go change her bottle. I'll see you guys. I love you or something. I don't know. I hope they don't kill him. I really hope they don't kill him. That man has died so many times on that show.
Right.
Well, a few, maybe not. I think King Shark killed him once, maybe, and then I think Zuma tried. He deserves something. And if he leaves the show and Cecile stays, how is that going to be? Do they get divorced? I hope they do it right. I hope they do justice to those characters and don't just Judy Winslow him out.
I mean, the fact is that according to Excess and Impulse, they both are there and alive in the future.
Okay, well that's unless something has changed, because we know they broke the timeline kind of, and then they never came back again to explain it or help fix it. They just disappeared. Maybe they erased themselves.
Right.
I wonder if that's what they're making us think, because now Iris has disappeared and you haven't seen the two kids again. It's oh. And we've never even seen proof that they were conceived anyway, so.
Yeah, that would require both Barry and Iris to actually spend time with each other.
Yeah. What if Thawne was their father and not Barry?
Oh.
That's actually a possible way they could go, but I hope not.
Yeah, that would be pretty twisted.
But I'm excited to see where the Flash goes, and I'm excited in like it's what, less than 2 weeks when we have Eric Wallace back on the show.
I know.
Not back
Oh,
on, but on for the first time.
I know.
And I'm gonna try to get it out of him. That's Sunday, May. I was gonna say Monday, Sunday, May 1st at 8 p.m. 5 Pacific. We're gonna try to get it out of him. Is season 9 the last season? And I'm gonna convince him. Look, you have to either if it's I'll play a park bench if I have to keep the show going. A lamp post, whatever I have to do. But you have to do 10 seasons. Like, why not do 10? 10 is an even number. Like, don't end on 9. Or if you do end on 9, do a full season. Don't do like 3 episodes. Or if you do 3 episodes, I don't know. Just I want to get something out of him. He's going to be like, I don't know. And then 2 weeks later, he's going to do the thing that he said he wouldn't do. I'm going to try to get something out of him. I don't know. Like, does the Flash die or whatever?
Right. I am really looking forward to that interview.
Yeah, it's in a way, it's the biggest one we've had as far as I still want to say Mark Guggenheim is probably the biggest, just because he was involved in so much, and he still is. He's involved in so many comics and so many projects, and it's just all over the place. I tried to track down every comic, not every comic, but tried to, I've got some JSA comics that I got a while back last year, or a little later last year in the fall, that were written by him, and some Green Lantern stuff and some other stuff. And it's just like, I can't keep up. He's got so many things out there that it's like, I'm trying to get them all and I can't. It's like Pokemon. I'm trying to catch them all, but I just can't. He's got so much going on. And I'm excited to have him back on sometime. But I let Mark Guggenheim know that we're gonna have Eric Wallace on the show on May 1st, and he was like, "Cool, I'll be tuning in." I don't know if he'll watch live or later or whatever, but how cool would it be to see Mark Guggenheim pop up in the comments?
It'd be great. It's been too long, frankly.
Yeah, maybe he can develop a new show starring us, where we play parodies of all these people that Corey makes us on these photos. And
you know what? I wouldn't turn that down.
And since it's parody, we don't have to get releases or permission because it's protected. So that would work. It's almost like that Drawn Together animated series. I never really watched it a lot, but it was like parodies of all these superheroes and stuff. So we could do that in live action. That would be easy.
Yeah.
But have him develop it for us. And I want like a producer credit at $5 a week.
Well, as we've been told, it doesn't take much to make somebody an executive producer or an associate producer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're associate producers on a movie after it was produced.
Yeah. I think apparently all you have to do is wear a T-shirt and then just simply make it your bio on your Twitter handle.
Yeah, and you don't even need a T-shirt. You can just be like, watch this movie. And then like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a producer.
Yeah, I think technically speaking, aren't we associate producers of Northwood Pie?
I think so. I think Jay and Todd made us honorary.
They made it. They made it official. So
I mean, I keep pushing Jay. I was like, "When are you going to do a DVD for Northwood Pie? When are you going to do a DVD?" He said he had some stuff planned for that. But he and Todd also just have been working on another project together. I think it's some kind of. I think it was maybe like a horror story.
Okay.
I keep in touch with them both. I haven't talked to them in a while. They have both read the screenplay that I wrote, and then I started writing a second one a while back. But it's a slow process. I'm not writing. I guess I am technically in the process of writing it, but it's not. I don't have a full story in mind. I'm just kind of jotting down ideas. And Todd is actually. I talked to him, and I was like, we need to write something together. We had this funny idea of, I think I mentioned it on here before. And we're calling it Ghost Dad. I mean, we kept thinking of Bill Cosby, but because it's the idea of a person not wanting to become their father. And so the character's father has passed away, and he starts to slowly transform literally into his father and has memories of his father, sort of like a Moon Knight type thing, but where he physically transforms. And then by the end of it, we're like, oh, he didn't really transform. It was all a metaphor or something. I don't know. Just kind of the idea of a story, a seed for it. And Todd's like, that's amazing. And he really liked the idea, which I'm like, you wrote Northwood Pie. You think that's amazing? Holy crap. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, you should write it with me. He was like, okay. But he has every intention, but they have a lot going on.
Collaborations are tough.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to get to motivate yourself to do something, but then you have to somehow get somebody else on board with your vision.
And they're sort of co-writers on my, not co-writers, but I guess writing consultants. But they've read my stuff, and I'm still waiting to write a third draft on mine because I'm waiting for them to read it and give me notes because they did that on the first draft, and I'm waiting for them to read the second one. And they were like, "We'll read it soon," and that was like 6 months ago. But they are busy. I'm not knocking them. I'm not trying to put them down because they stay busy. And but one day they'll read it again, and then I'll do a third. They probably lost it in like a bunch of emails, and I could resend it. But either way,
how life gets busy.
Oh yeah, and it's just cool to know those guys and to be able to message them and know that they'll message us back at some point. Like I'll send Todd a direct message on Twitter, and like 14 years later he'll respond, but he will respond.
Right.
So it's cool, and if everything goes good, we'll maybe all 4 of us will be doing this live podcast at Northwood Pizza. Hopefully things work out. If I can get a free plane ticket, I think I might just find one that's going the same place I am, and just like look over there, and have the airline employee like what, and then look, and then I just kind of run onto the plane real quick. I mean, that might work.
Maybe I think about like you remember watching the Home Alone movie where somehow Kevin gets onto an airplane, onto the wrong airplane. They don't check his ticket.
Mm-hmm.
He just jumps on, and they don't realize it until they're already in France and he's in New York City. I just go, that would never happen today.
Never.
It would never happen today. There are so many checks that happen beforehand. So many things you got to get scanned in. You're not going to just automatically sneak onto the plane.
No, even if like the checks and security and stuff wasn't that way, even that wouldn't work back then, I don't think, because the whole point of having the ticket is to verify the person has the ticket. And if you just had a pile of them, they wouldn't just let him go on.
What's crazy though is I traveled by plane a number of times prior to 9/11. Mm-hmm. And before 9/11, I mean, you think about so many things that you could do, that you literally could go all the way up to the gate and say goodbye to people.
Yeah.
Right. There was none of this waiting at the bottom of the escalator or at baggage claim for people. And they were much less stringent about tickets and security. And so I can really see where things would get busy and hectic, and you're running late, you don't want the plane to leave, and you just run right on the plane. Yeah. I could really see that in the 80s being a possibility, but it's definitely not something that would happen here in 2022.
I mean, I could try the Kevin McAllister trick. I can get a bunch of older tickets and or copies of them, and have not even any of them be real, really. Just I'm sitting here working in the airport talking about this big grand scheme to fake a ticket, and I'm like,
you put a lot of thought into this.
I'm gonna go show up tomorrow and get questioned or something.
Right.
Just a disclaimer: I will not be doing this really, but just get a bunch of tickets and then run into the lady at the gate, like, oh my gosh, my ticket, it's somewhere. My dad just went on though, and then see if it works. Might.
Yeah,
no,
it won't.
It would never work. That would never work because it's all electronic anyway. They have all your information in their little systems. They scan, or they pull your name up and they verify. Because if you do lose your ticket, you can go to the gate and be like, "Oh, I lost it. What's your name? Here's your ID." And okay, your name matches your ID. Here you go. Here you can go. You don't need the ticket itself physically.
Well,
it's on phones mostly anyway.
Right. I'm still holding out for hope that you're going to be able to find a relatively inexpensive ticket, even to LAX.
Yeah, I looked at that.
Not
it was
my
weird.
favorite airport.
No, I wouldn't want to fly back out of there either, or go there at all, because it's so massive. And I have never been there, but I've seen how big that place is on images and all this other stuff. But it was weird because I think so many of the Ontario airport flights were like, oh, $700, whatever. And then one-way flights to LAX were like $325 or something. I'm like, wait a minute, so I could get 2 one-ways, and then that's still under $700. Wow, that's crazy. That's cheaper. But I'm still looking at it. I don't know. I wanted to. I wish I could have bought a ticket back in like October when we were like first talking about it, but it's weird that the ticket back then was like $300. I was like, oh, I can buy that later, and now it's like $600. I'm like, how is the same flights, or are the same flights the same everything, but like double the money? It doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Well, it's that whole gas thing going on.
I guess it is. I guess it's like that's true. I didn't think about that because back
they're gonna pass that on to the consumer.
Hopefully, it drops down to like $1 a gallon of gas, so all jet fuel will be really cheap by July. So that. And I really still don't know. I need to get verification on when my actual vacation is eligible to be taken before I can really say when I can go, if I can go. Because I'm like, oh, I'm going to go July 10th or whatever. They're like, you don't get a vacation until the 28th. I'm like, oh, non-refundable. That would be terrible. So I'm going to find out for sure when that happens.
All right. Well, I'm going to just cross my fingers and hope and pray for the best here.
Or I could just, like, after work one day, just sit outside the airport, like, with a marker and get a piece of cardboard and be like, need to get to California.
Right. Or
gotta make it
you're
big.
gonna put your thumb out, right, and just try to hitch a ride.
Yeah, on a plane, like they see a plane take off, like put my thumb out, like hey, and then they just drop a rope ladder, like come on, and like, you just get on. Good. Well, if anybody out there watching has a helicopter, I won't pay for gas
or a free ticket.
Yeah, I'll take your tickets. I'll trade you a shredder figure for a ticket to California and back, like round trip. I've never taken the twisty tie thing off. It's still attached to the plastic. This is well worth $600. Yes.
All right. Well, Stephen, I feel like we've covered about everything we can cover here today, but
we really have.
This has been fun.
It has. It's nice to come back and do a show again. It seems like there's always issues, but we always roll with it. And who knows, maybe we'll try to throw a bonus episode out there to kind of make up. And if that doesn't work out, then that's okay. But I think things will be going smooth. Yeah, and we hit bumps in the road. The road still goes on. But yeah, Moon Knight is great. The Flash is great. Watch both of those. Subscribe, comment, and eat Snickers. Yeah. I'm do fake ads until the companies are like, wow, they're doing ads for us. Where are their paychecks? And they're like, we forgot to put your paycheck in the mail. Like here, it could work. Who knows? Probably not. This podcast brought to you by Hooters. Looks around to see if any of them are here.
That is one way to raise some cash, I guess.
Yeah. Sponsored by Hooters. No. Every time we show that picture, we got to give us $4 each. There we go. So we just made like $25.
Right.
Okay. And it's also brought to you by Mark Guggenheim. So you follow him at M. Guggenheim. Yeah, that's right. I had to think. When it's scrolling right below me, I'm like, why do I have to think about it? I can just read it off the screen. Follow us too. And follow everybody. Follow your hearts, ladies and gentlemen. This is the news, apparently. And I'm rambling again. All right. Yeah, it's been fun. It really has been. And we'll see everybody again, I'd say around the same time next week, Sunday night. Right. And then I think the week after that is when we have Eric Wallace.
Yep.
I think it's the next week. Yep. It's 2 weeks away from today.
Yep.
At 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Wow. You know what I mean, everybody. Next week we'll talk to Chris Rock and see how he's doing. Probably won't happen, but we're going to try to get him. Maybe. He said he didn't want to talk about it, but we'll get him to talk about it. And we'll get a coach for me so I can figure out how to close the show. But yeah, it's been fun, everybody. Thanks for watching. It's good to be back, and we'll see everybody next week.
All right. Adios.
See ya.